All right, so this one is kind of meant to be more of like an open forum like discussion, kind of a just a conversation piece. And the idea here, or the main topic, is NI, introverted intuition, part of, I don't say part of, does it often lead to depression? What's its connection to depression? Just put it that way. Let's keep it simple. Why do I say that? Uh, Introverted intuition is often taking yourself out of the present context, out of the present moment, and thinking about the broader context, the broader meaning behind things, the broader symbolism of something. Taking yourself out of the moment and just thinking about what is the significance of what is going on right now. Does my life have meaning? Does this situation have meaning? How does this fit in the grander scheme of things? When I think of past civilizations that have come and gone, where things are headed, does anything I'm doing have any meaning? Will it last? What does it matter? The things that we're doing and struggling with right now, what does it matter? Does it make any difference at all? Are we all just dust in the wind? It's getting into all these kinds of thoughts, often pulling yourself out of the moment, that can sometimes be kind of frightening or depressing, just saddening when you kind of start to really question whether what you're doing really has any purpose or meaning to it. What value does any of this bring? Um, and to me, I would say this sounds like a lot of NI usage going on in there. So whether you're an NI Dom or you're just somebody with NI high in their stack, in their functional stack, um, does it kind of lead to moments of despair and depression? When I listen to NI dominant types, probably INFJs, IEIs, they are usually the ones that sound like this the most, that often describe their use of NI as just sort of thinking of their life as a story, as picturing archetypes within the story, trying to figure out, is my life going where I want it to go? Does it have any real purpose to it? And they're very detached from the here and now. When you have all that detachment and you're just up in your head thinking about stuff like that, again, I think you get into these kinds of rather depressing sort of state of mind. It reminds me a lot of like what you might see when people go to a funeral, or loss of a pet or something like that, and you're thinking about this. You start thinking about your life, the meaning of life, your context, what was any of it for, what's going on. You start getting into that spiraling of thoughts. And then there's always that guy who comes around and looks at you and says, hey, listen, I understand what you're going through, but don't linger on that shit too long. That'll mess with your head. You get back on the horse, get back out there, get into life and get going on stuff. And you hear that kind of advice and it sounds an awful lot like an SE type, or at least a sensor, looking at an intuitive saying, hey, don't do all that intuition stuff right now, right? I understand you're feeling a certain kind of way for now, but get back into reality, get back on task, doing something, return to the present moment, busy yourself by doing something, and get your head out of that place. But for somebody who is NI dominant, or at least a high NI user, that's your natural place to be, thinking about these kinds of things all the time. So you're lingering on these sort of more depressing thoughts. I'm going to put it that way. This feels a lot like philosophers like Nietzsche and maybe Soren Kierkegaard and people like this, other types who get into existentialism in philosophy. And if you read a lot of that stuff, it's pretty depressing in a lot of sense, or it can be seen that way by some. Sometimes you kind of wonder too, do sensor types just look a bit happier more often because they're more in the moment, content with the little things going on around them? Is ignorance bliss? No offense to a lot of my sensor types. I'm not saying that you're ignorant, but maybe sometimes just not spending too long thinking about the deeper meaning of life and all that other stuff is a good thing. Maybe being able to just enjoy the moment, enjoy the parade and the lights and the drinks and so on in front of you, rather than thinking about what's this moment mean and what's going on with all of this, what's the purpose. Maybe that is just a lot better. uh yeah, it's just kind of just some thoughts that I was having. Just kind of want to throw it out there, see what people think about that. Maybe it's total bullshit, maybe it's not. Maybe sensors have a very different take on this, where this doesn't happen to them quite so often. Maybe it does. They get into kind of these sort of thought patterns a lot too, and it's really not necessarily that NI is kind of thing. But as I said, it does sound like your higher NI types have a certain underlying sadness to them that even they sometimes say, you know what, it's not depression, it's not sadness exactly, but it kind of is a bit more grim in their view of things. So yeah, just curious. Again, post your comments. This is more of an open forum like thought process I'm having here. I'm not really saying that I know the answer to this. Just some musings that I'm having. So like and subscribe and post your comments.